evening. My name is Hasmina Molano. There are downsides of having H-2A workers in terms of economy, but before I go into details why H-2A program doesn't work, let me first explain to you the basics of economics and how it works. Economic growth is about supply and demand in relation to unemployment and inflation. Supply, also known as GDP, or gross domestic product, is in the sense in which we mean it as all the goods and services produced for sale each year. Demand is in the sense in which we mean it as the ability to buy that supply. That is all the money and credit out there for everybody in their own hands waiting to be spent. Too much supply means unemployment. In the old days, the solution for farm owners and employers was to cut down on production by laying off workers so that the supply would fall to equal demand. The trouble was, of course, the demand often fell too because laid-off workers didn't have as much money to spend that they had when they were still working. Therefore, it wasn't still enough money or demand to buy all the supplies out there. This could cause a downward spiral leading to from recession to depression. In order to solve this problem, economists had to increase demand to equal supply by extending credit to the borrowers who were seen most productive, and if the resulting borrowers were productive enough, the result would be even more supply, requiring even more credit, and therefore there would be an upward spiral. Now, if the U.S. gives in to H-2A program for foreign workers, the U.S. will once again experience another pitfall economy created by the government and the farm owners back in the Gilded Age and the Great Depression of America. Cheaper labor can encourage farm owners to produce more farm goods, which can lead to cheaper prices. And of course, cheaper prices means more supply, and it can also equal to unemployment. Back in the Gilded Age era, American farmers wanted to share the wealth of the Industrial Revolution of America, and in doing so, farmers produced more crops, which led to lower prices but not much an income. This is another example of too much supply over demand. And as for the Great Depression era, a policy was created for American farmers as part of the New Deal in 1932. That was the Agricultural Adjustment Act, or AAA for short. This authorized the federal government to try to raise farm prices to help the economy by setting farm productions and quotas for major crops and paying farmers not to plant more than needed to control the farm goods. In 1933, the government ordered more than 6 million pigs slaughtered as part of the government's way to control farm good prices. Many crops already in the field were destroyed despite the harsh conditions of the economy, and more Americans were dying from hunger. Now, if the U.S. had to adopt this program, of course, we already have twice in our history that the Great Depression and the Gilded Age era, where it showed that the farmers weren't helping the economy in the long run. Why do we have to adopt this policy where now not only the American workers but including foreign workers are now getting involved with our farm areas? According to affirmatives policy, H-2A workers are also contributing to the economy and paying their taxes. Well, we must first analyze whether the H-2A workers are really paying their taxes. Due to the amount of wages they're making, I'm pretty sure they're not. And according to the Working Immigrants Project, under the current program, the wage formula had changed from $2 per hour to $1 per hour. And this was taken into effect back in April 13, 2011. According to the IRS, foreign agricultural workers temporarily admitted to the United States under H-2A visas were exempted from taxes, including the Social Security and Medicare taxes. This is true whether they are resident alien or non-resident alien. In addition, compensation paid to H-2A agricultural workers for services performed in connection with H-2A visa is not considered to be wages. Therefore, they are exempted from federal income tax. According to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, an H-2A worker's spouse and under unmarried children under 21 years of age may seek admission under H-4 program for non-immigrant classification. Family members are not eligible for employment in the U.S. However, H-2A workers who have family members under H-4 program are also exempted from taxes. On the political side, adopting H-2A program has also another downturn. The UN created a convention or international law called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, and the U.S. ratified it. Therefore, the U.S. has to stand according to what they ratified. Included in this convention under Article 4 is the ILO, the International Labor Organization, which protects local and international workers. Under the Article 4, it means there's no kind of slavery shall be performed. This would include the very low minimum wage and bad working conditions under H-2A programs. According to Mary Bauer, the director of the Immigrant Justice Project, said that there are numerous lawsuits and class actions on behalf of the immigrant workers due to working conditions. If the affirmative group says that H-2A program is helping the economy, well, right now in the current program, there's no such thing as protecting the workers. Therefore, they are allowed to apply for a lawsuit, and now that's also gonna cost the farm owners another money instead of making more money for the economy. The word slavery has a lot of definitions. One of them, according to the Human Rights Convention, is very low wage, obviously, and harsh working conditions. I think, for instance, the workers of the railroads back in the West during the Gilded Age of America. Most railroad workers were Chinese. For most Americans, people thought that Chinese workers were like slaves, just like the African black Americans back in the South. Where in reality, Chinese workers were immigrants under hard labor, and they were hired to work under long-term contracts. Contracts like this ended because Americans in the East and in the South were in badly need of jobs. Therefore, this type of jobs, though it was hard and not much paying of money, Americans were willing to take that kind of jobs. So when this happened, the economy of the United States slowly slowed down the progression of the Depression for the Gilded Age era. So if this worked back then, why won't it work now for the economy, especially in this kind of economic conditions?